Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Alongside me tonight from the Great Midwest, I have RDV, and we're going to be discussing Season 1, Episode 4 of Tulsa King, a show, RDV, that I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter recently about how it's been renewed for Season 2, which is great. You can relax a little bit now. But
Yep.
also that it's been the biggest debuting show this year, and that includes, say, House of the Dragons and other major titles of things that, we won't discuss.
All right.
Lord of the Rings, I'm looking at you. But I got to sit there and say, watching this episode, my initial take is that it's still fun. It picks up right where it's left off. All I'm waiting for is the voice to go previously on Tulsa King, or him going previously on Tulsa King. But right now, I'm
Right.
enjoying it. I like it. There's some development, which is pretty good in here. It's
Uh, you went dark at me. I don't know if you can
the
hear me
same
now.
mix of some fun stuff and some pseudo serious stuff. Game we saw in here. What's your initial take?
My initial take on this episode actually was actually pretty good. Much as we pointed out in the last Tuesday on episode 3, towards the end, we speculated where this is going to go. Uh, kind of blinds me a little bit with the father. The father joining in because this episode basically they decided to do basically they got the laughing gas set up at the concert to do this. Problem is they're approached by the white nationalists, the ones who basically were set up as a problem. In the last episode where the guy blew up the house, and ATF is looking into it. So this guy is upset because his two goons came back, and so he basically had them killed or beat the shit out of them. Came back, retaliated, beat up, Stallone's goons, or not goons, but his guys.
I see.
Stallone, yeah. So Stallone's like, you know what? We're gonna be smart about this. We're not gonna get violent. What do they do? They get violent. but I, but
No.
I, but I love it though. It's like it. I kind of figured you're gonna have to do something like that because the only way you basically stand up for yourself is by standing up for yourself. And Stallone is like, dude, like he's not gonna be pushed around. Now the other guys are pissed. These are all like kind of like, ah, it's kind of like when you see a bunch of guys who normally aren't really used to fighting and then throwing them into the thing.
It's
It's weird, but it worked for this. Yes, the biker guys probably would have beat their ass still, but they had equalizers. They had bats.
right.
And not only that, you had Stallone, and then you have the other guy who took a shot at him, who Stallone confronts in this episode. And Stallone's letting him work off his debt by working for him. And so, but yeah, the biggest thing for this me was the father after seeing his son come home. He's all busted up. They get a little argument, and he ends up showing up at the bar. And he's like, you know what? The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
What did you make of that, though?
I thought that was kind of stupid. I do not want the father involved in this stuff. And now the father's like, because normally the father would have been like, would have gotten in Stone's face and Stone would have punched him out. Sorry, that's the way it would have went. But instead, he's like, I'll fight with you guys. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. No.
It seemed like such a character change from the father, and
Yeah.
I don't get it because he's an older guy, but he's a beefy dude, and he looks like he ain't for putting up with any crap. I mean, seriously. So he's a little old school himself. So I think there's something to his father rather than being a standout guy. I think he's got a rough past history, and I thought it was odd too because it stood out to me. And the other scene that was stood out to me that again was a little odd. So I don't know if we're doing a pivot or if it was just weird. Was you mentioned how when the two goons go back to the white nationalist bar, because all gangs have a bar.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not a strip club, but
Yeah.
whatever. And the guy's talking in Irish, and the woman at the end of the bar is like, "See, I tell you, the favors, they're pussies, they're da da da," and it's like, "Shut up." And the guy said something reasonable. He goes, "We didn't want to just start anything out with or across the back tree. They didn't come across as pussies. They came across as
No.
guys thinking and, and considerate. And they get their ass beat, and it's like, okay, you're already making this so-called gang seem like wimps to begin with anyway. So it's like you're not making them a strong opponent for what's ultimately going to happen with Stallone's ragtag band of so-called goons, and we all know they all kind of suck, right? So it was kind of weird to me that happened because I thought, oh, we're not busy establishing them as a threat. So now I'm like, what the hell's the threat right now? Right now, I just feel like they let a lot of the air out. What about you?
Exactly, because I'm not sure if it's the same actor, but the guy has similar looks to the one that's is leading the nationalists. You guys hear the neo Nazis, racists, whatever you want to call them, biker guys. Uh, there was in Walking Dead, they had a similar situation where these guys were called the Reapers. They were ex-military and were going around just killing people and just stealing your stuff. And the guy was a fanatic, the leader. Thought he was God sent, to save people. And it's just like, and they were much more scary than this is. These guys are just kind of like, all
They're
right, the guys,
dopes
yeah,
almost.
yeah, in a sense, yeah. And that woman though is like, yeah, her saying that is like, oh, these guys are, is I would he should have told her, shut up, woman, seriously, and like know your place. I'm the one in charge, not you. So shut. Don't, I don't want to hear any comment from you. You know, that would have been more believable for that guy, the leader. But they didn't do that though. Instead, he goes, "Oh, she's right. Yeah, you guys are a bunch of pussies." I'm thinking like, it's like, dude, if they damn well would have started something, they would have been killed either way. Uh, so I don't know, but that was kind of weak. The other thing is that these are guys. They're shown to be like if they're white nationalist party, whatever you want to call them. Uh, they're supposed to have. You think they'd have guns? Nobody pulled out any guns.
I know.
That was
It was weird to me, especially the ending scene, right, with the baseball
yeah,
bats, and they're standing there, they're nobody's strapped at all, and only these carrying. Are you kidding me?
exactly. That was the
Oh,
best.
well, I don't know what I'm missing there.
That was
Was it meant to be funny? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to show an old fashioned fight thing. Like I said, that was the biggest flub for that show so far is the fact that these guys didn't just pull out a gun and start shooting. The other thing is that they're in public, so maybe they don't want to draw attention to themselves. They want to get themselves arrested, you know. But then again, it's like then they call him, "Oh, you're a pussy." Like you should have shot and killed this guy. It's like it's like I don't know. It's like so when Stallone meets face to face with this guy, I'm just kind of curious what's going. Are they going to pull out guns, use guns out? Because we've only seen them use the guns like once in this, and that's because the guy tonight. Well, Stallone had the 45 snub today or
Mhm.
44. I can't remember if it was 44 or 45, but it was basically the ones you see that Seth Geckel uses or George Clooney from Dust Till Dawn,
Yep.
which I believe was a 45 Magnum. Anyway, so you saw that Stallone use that gun in this episode, but in the previous episodes, you saw like these guys were carrying like AR-15s,
Mhm.
which are which I guess are hunting rifles. You can only fire them as fast as the trigger. Now that being said, I don't know if these guys got fully automatic, and that would still be illegal. It's possible to get it's really possible to get fully automatic trigger stuff for your guns, but you, the ATF watches that shit. So if you are doing that, like you're already gonna get arrested.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's why they're involved. So there's an angle there, so we know this is going to play out, right? But what
yeah,
was weird to me is like you mentioned before with the father, and how we mentioned with the gang here. While I'm enjoying the episode, I felt like they kind of shot their wad early. So like, one of the things that we talked about early on a couple episodes ago was how this guy that we got a quick glimpse of Armand, watching him eating in a mall and then making a phone call. And then he's the hit guy in last week's episode, which I thought was kind of a cool scene. We see that he goes there and it's like he puts a gun to his chest and he talks to Armand, he's going to kill him. We're like, okay, this is picking up. And it's like, no, 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 no. I tried to tell you, that this guy Pete turned against you. That's why you're in jail. And it was like, this seemed like this should have been a much bigger reveal, or they could have played it out well. And it seems like it was just almost an afterthought because the wife comes home immediately, and he just says, "Okay, now you work for me, a couple $100 and whatever every Saturday." And of course, he's a part of his little gang later on. But the whole point of this is when the dog's pooping on his lawn and he's taking it, we go, this is of course just like Breaking Bad or whatever. The guy's being a bitch. He's allowing it to
yep,
happen, even with this old neighbor. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? So of course here they just decide to go ahead and after he has the the re-mafia scene, I'll call it, with Stallone at the end, we see him at his house, and he, stepped on the dog shit, and he just told his wife to go back inside. And I'm gonna talk about the wife here in a moment. He
yeah,
goes across and he rubs the shit on his boot because it's a German Shepherd, much like
yep,
Max and
yeah,
Daisy patrolling the grounds of Pine Hills Palace. And then he kind of beats the guy a little bit with it, and that's it. But it looks comical, not funny or serious, which I don't like. And she's like, "But the realtor's coming in 5 minutes." And he's like, "You already have a home." And it's like, this would have been much cooler if they showed it this building up, and if we gave a shit about the wife because
no,
she comes across as, oh my god, if you lied to me for 15 years, I don't want to be part of somewhere. And he tries to touch her, and she kind of like slaps him and walks off. And it's like, I don't want to use the bad word, but she's acting like something, and we're like, okay, why
Well,
does this guy want to stay with you then? Because you're mid. You're not showing that you supported him. You're showing to be basically not interested in him, which we would understand for you not being a guy, which is the whole part of this whole scene anyway.
so
But it's like, why do
yeah,
I care about you now?
so the
So
way I
it
got
really screws it all.
the way I got it is that it seems like she's basically been the one that tells him what to do, or she ignores him and stuff, and he's kind of been a pushover all these years. So finally, he
Yeah,
grew a speak after this whole thing with the fight with the biker and stuff. He comes home, he's realized, oh my gosh, at this point, is it fucking even married anymore? I got a guy, Stallone, who basically wants to try and kill me. I'm working for him now. And he's like, I just can't deal with the stress anymore. He felt good, basically, because he said like this was kind of like what you want to call it, therapeutic or cartherapeutic, whatever it was. He said this alone at the end before he went home. Like now, this guy realized, you know what? He's like, I'm not this household guy, So maybe who knows? The wife listened. Maybe she gets off that stuff now. She's seen a new side of her husband. So who knows? But like I said, the wife, I didn't care. They need to see that stuff. But we did see character growth, which was kind of cool for the
right.
guy. Because up at this point, he's going to kind of dweeb. The other thing the only thing I would have changed though is the wife would have been Dana Delaney.
What about it? I mean, like,
No,
what do you mean?
no. That would have been like that's how he's connected to the horse ranch. He actually is like married to Dana Delaney.
Well, we'll see what plays out with that, because
Yeah,
obviously, as a name, she's not going to be a side figure, and they didn't show her at
I
all
hope
even
not.
in
Yeah.
this episode, even though they
Um.
introduced her in the last one, which I thought was odd.
So every episode so far it seems to have some kind of like tearjerker moment or just kind of very like reality hitting you. The other
Yep.
one with his daughter hanging up on him, just talking. And now he finds his little brother's dying, and he
Yeah.
calls up his sister, and he's like, "Hey, she's like, what? After 25 years, now you give a shit?" I'm thinking, like, dude, like he's trying to make amends. You can tell. It's like, and she's just like, she's so stuck up. So it's like we're already seeing her now. The women in this and all this throughout the show are just angry.
They are. They're bitter.
Yeah. Uh, So he has FaceTime with because at the end of the episode, his sister calls back and he's like, "Yeah, Joey, he's dying. But he wanted you to wanted me to call you." They FaceTime and he has a touching moment reunion with his brother, and then his brother basically passes away and he hangs up the phone. That's how it ends. But more
Yeah,
to my point about the
I
more
can
to
see
my
it's
point though.
nice.
Yeah, more to my point though about the angry women. The ATF girl that he was sleeping with, this shows that her
Yes.
character sprung
Yes.
out. She decides to go to the bar, get drunk, hooks up with a guy just for sex, and then you see her towards the end. You don't see her crying, but you can just tell that she's kind of like just distraught. She's basically gonna end up getting herself fired from her job.
Or
And
something. I don't know. It's
I don't know.
weird. Her vibe is really weird. And
Yeah,
that's good. It's watchable, but she's the only one I'm mildly scared of.
we don't know what's gonna happen, but maybe she gets the ATF guy goes after her to get the Stallone. I mean, I think that white nationalist guy goes after her, whatever reason, because he recognizes her from the ATF. And
Well, I think that one night stand, that guy's going to come back.
I'm wondering who he's working for. That's my question.
Exactly.
He's got an angle.
She's being catfished.
Yes, because he's like, well, because she told her story, and then he didn't say, well, it doesn't make her. I'm this tall guy here for a good time, So, and she's like, okay. So she got played. So
She allowed it.
Yeah, and she allowed it too. So yeah, they're playing war. What is it good for? While they're beating up the guys, and then she's getting railed by a guy in her apartment. Well, the dog. That's the other thing. The dog, though. She has the dog that belongs to one of the white nationalist guy. I'm saying there's got to be something with that dog. It'd be weird if the dog was just a dog and that's it. There's no other further plot to that.
I took that as her picking up a stray and trying to whatever, and that's a psychological thing. I think it has nothing to do other than it was left over from when it exploded when we saw it. It's going to go somewhere. I agree that relationship. I don't think it's just going to be there and we're going to see it. If so, that's stupid.
No.
When you and I covered The Old Man, as much as I loved a lot about what they did with it, I didn't agree with a lot of the choices and where it went. the fact that early on we saw him with his dogs a lot and how important they are to him, that was kept up in the first season very well. And I really appreciated and respected that and, of course, enjoyed it a lot. So I'm wondering what's going to happen with that because they seem like they put stuff in here, but then they either shoot their wad or like Dana Delaney. She was very strong in a brief screen time she had. Now we don't see her, which to me, I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, this brings me back to Tyson. We kind of like Tyson. Tyson's kind of like the comic relief, but not in a bad way. He
He's
has some
caught.
earnest scenes with his dad,
Yeah,
but then I get the sense of dread, like he's gonna get whacked. He's gonna get whacked, and it's hard because when they try to put in some of the comedy stuff, laugh at it, it really doesn't allow us to sink our teeth in deeper emotionally with it. And while I like Tyson, his goofy glasses, and all that stuff, it's starting to wear thin. It's like I want to see the seed of what he's going to turn into, and I just want to watch that develop. Right now, it seems like okay, Tyson's going to be serious here. Okay, now we'll have him say something dumb and goofy or whatever, and I don't like it. We already know like the B or C level guys here, the stoner uh, guy that runs the shop that Stallone muscled over with the glasses. He's funny. He's laid back. He is what he is, and we know what that is. So that's fun to watch. And
and
then,
he's got character growth too. That's the thing
yeah,
too.
yeah, and then the fat friend. Yeah, when they're
Yeah.
all together, that was the best scene where they're trying to plan stuff out, and he goes, "Oh, I should let you know that blah blah blah," and then they're all standing together, and the guy's like, I want to add something, and it's like what? And I'm thinking Stingray, right, from Cobra Kai. This is what the guy
Exactly.
reminded me of. He reminded me of Stingray. He goes, "This is what we should do. We go up there, start talking shit to him, and Stone's like, no, go ahead." And he's like, and then you guys sneak up behind him and whack him in the back. And it's kind of silly, dumb, but the point is you're watching this crew that somehow got strong arm put into it come along at their own pace, and we know what they are, but we're being held back on major characters, in my opinion, like Tyson and
All right,
this
I can't.
episode because I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So yeah, Tyson. I really hope that he doesn't get whacked, but he is getting a little obnoxious. He needs to be set straight. Um, the dad gives him all basically ultimatums like, "Hey, you can either stay here and do this, or you can come home and you have a place." But Tyson is getting a little obnoxious. I did like the fact that Stallone stuck up for Tyson, saying like, 25 years old, he's not a kid, he's a man.
Yeah.
You know, but
But
yeah,
that's another thing. Don't you think that was too early for them to have that conversation?
no, I would have rather had Tyson's father, Mark, and Stallone get in a fight. That's what I wanted. And then Mark his seeing his dad get beat up. That a little more drama to it. He's like, dude,
Right.
like, even though Stallone defended himself and didn't kill him, but he beat him up, and he's like, dude, it's my dad. And, like, I wanted some more angst like that, and that would have been more believable. But yeah, that was just kind of like, what they reminded me of?
What?
Oh, what is it? Predator.
How so?
Carl Weathers. Yeah, kind of like Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's up, bro? Hanging up? We're gonna go fight the good fight. I was like, all he had to do was clap hands, like, "Oh, what's up, bro?" It just seems so weird, out of place for this, because yeah, his father seems like an arrogant kind of a dick, and he's concerned about his son. I understand that, but at the same time, it's like he doesn't want his son to do anything without his permission. So I mean, he carries.
I didn't get the arrogant vibe. I mean, they're obviously there's something to it, of course, but
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling arrogant. I don't know how to put it.
Well, he doesn't like that. I mean, his son doesn't want to do the things that his dad wants him to do. He wants to be a plumber. He's like, he says, "Oh, you're basically a chauffeur." And like, so what's wrong with being a chauffeur? That's my question. Because it's a white guy, or because, or it could be, it's that was another thing I hate like that. I was like, chauffeurs make a lot of money, driving around limo guys. Because that's the thing. There's always celebrities that want limousines. So like, if you're able to drive a limo, do stuff, you're guaranteed a gig, bro.
Right.
So like I said, I don't understand the dig at that, unless he's trying to say it to make it into racial. It's like, oh, because you're driving for a white guy, and I wish Tyson would have brought that up. It's like, why? Because he's white. Like that would have
I
been
didn't
like
get that at all.
no, like I
I
said,
just got it as you need to amount to something on your own rather than settling for, whatever. Plus, I think it's the lifestyle. The guy knows what his son is into, and it's not just the fatherly. I
so
know you're not doing right. He knows. That's what I'm saying. I think the dude's street smart. We just haven't
yes,
seen that yet.
yeah. I want to know, does he have a brother that was involved in jail and stuff, an uncle that Tyson doesn't know about, or stuff like, or did he serve time? Did he escape? Did he grow up?
Mhm.
I want to know what Mark's story is. But I just think to have that the confrontation between him and Stallone was too early. It should have been like
Yeah.
episode 7 or however, I don't know, or towards the end of the series, this season. It should have been like at the end. It'd been like his. That should have been like the climatic thing. So everything's going on, and then Tyson's dad shows up, in the middle of it, and then
Huh.
maybe it's whacked in the crossfire.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked the episode. It seemed like it went quick to me, even though there was just the action scene at the end. But the pace so you almost kind of forget it. So they're busy dabbling their toe in a lot of different waters here, and some of it's working, most of it's working, some of it's not. But I guess that's what you're going to get. But I'm looking at this going, all right, I'm looking forward to episode 5, and I think probably the best thing this did would be to do it weekly because we can talk about it, forget about it, then anticipate it, then get into it, and everything kind of comes back to rather than just binging and going, okay, so this is what happened, because that's ultimately what these shows turn out to be. Well, it starts off this way, this happened, and now we're here, and here we get to be a little more at peace watching it. So again, we get some development. It's moving along well. I I'm enjoying it a lot. I think it's piquing my interest because there's just enough of the change in some of the characters there, and we don't see all of them all the time. There's not a lot of yelling and shouting. They're we feel like they're getting their pieces together before there's a call to action is how I'm looking at it too. So, looking forward to next week for episode 5. What other observations or final thoughts do you have on this episode or the show in general?
I said I don't know what's gonna happen next, but I mean, I know we nitpick things, but overall, I do like the show too, just as much as you do. Um, I just don't know where it's gonna go. I mean, obviously, I have an idea. It's gonna involve the white nationalists now. Now they got their asses kicked again. Uh, Something's gonna happen. There's gonna be retaliation. Where does Dana Delaney's character fit in, or is she just a one off? Like, that's it. Because that's to me, I'm like, dude, I want more of Dana Delaney, bro. Instead of some of these nobodies. Yeah, and then where does the ATF girl fit into this? Uh, obviously she's an alcoholic. Something's gonna bite into her. She's gonna get in trouble. Maybe she's got caught drunk on the job. We don't know, but yeah, like I said, like, something's gonna happen. Someone's gonna get killed. We just don't know who. If it's gonna be an innocent person, or it's gonna be the ATF girl, or is it gonna be, is it gonna be someone close to Stallone, like Tyson? Tyson's dad. So, I mean, because these guys are supposed to be like, if you want to build these, basically to sell these guys again, because they basically took the wind out of all these bad guys. Not one of them having a gun.
Mhm.
Is that someone's got these guys going to make retaliation now, and basically in address Stallone head on, be like, because you got to tell me the big bad guys, like, he's gonna take on Stallone and be like, you fucked with me, this is the consequences. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
otherwise,
we gotta have a big payoff for that, though. I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
we absolutely do.
So, but we do know, yeah, his that his his sister Joe, I think it was, yeah, was his sister, was it Joe, or was his name sister, or is this? But anyway, his sister, it talked to him. And he's like, oh, if you talk to Tina, he's like, well, I will see commits, because your your baby brother's gonna die. And he kind of, because, so I'm wondering if Tina, we know that Tina's build as far as episode 6, I think, believe it is. So we still got one more episode before she comes, where even they mention her. But again, I'm just curious how that's gonna fit in. Is she gonna come out and to fly to see her dad and then take an hostage? And what's with this? The information we learned about the guy saying about they were your buddies. We're gonna your mafia buddies. They were gonna whack you because they think you're gonna squeal. Because nobody does that for 25 years.
Right. That's my point. That to me, like, was like the only real major plot point so
Yeah,
far that I think, and it just felt like an afterthought. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. So,
Well,
like you said, we're only on episode 4. I think it's like 10 episodes or 8 episodes.
mhm.
We need something more. And they kind of have too many plots going on. That's the thing. We need a. They should have settled with maybe having 1 or 2 plots at a time, subplot, the main subplot, and then having little problems popping up while you continue the main plot. Like,
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Ed Burr, our resident weed expert and aficionado there too. I saw his little information video the other night. That was kind of funny. That made me think of in this episode here that they're taking things that are prominent and it's culturally acceptable right now, and we're seeing less of. I'll say this too now that I think of it, we're seeing less of the fish out of water thing
yeah,
that we started off with. But I
yeah,
like the idea that they got involved with weed and all that too. And I just thought, well, they should be investigating it more, not just have people that run a weed farm. They should use the fact that it's unique to weed farm and has a unique legal way of being presented. I thought they could have went really sort of corporate clash versus old school mafia sort of thing. And while they tease that there at the beginning, I don't see that happening. But they could always go into it. So I think this first season, honestly, though, is just going to set a bunch of stuff up. I don't think it's actually going to go anywhere and do anything. I think it's just going to leave us going, okay, when season 2 starts, that's it. I don't know, without having watched more of these other shows by Tyler Sheridan that he's involved with, if that's his MO, where he just creates a lot of stuff and then people go, oh, yeah, by season 2 or 3, you're hooked. And it was like that with Breaking Bad. We saw some stuff and all that, but then everyone's like, oh, it just keeps getting better and better and better. And I think that's the whole concept of what they're trying to do here is play the long
yes,
game, which I don't
yep.
mind, as long as each individual episode's entertaining. So, man, I wish Stone would have done TV 20, 30 years ago. We'd get more of it now.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like Stallone 76. It's a big difference for Breaking Bad because Bryan Cranston is a lot much younger. So I mean, Stallone is up in age, and we know the thing is that celebrities, don't really last so long. Humans, we start getting up in older age, medical problems, medical issues, whatever. I hope that Stallone sticks around for another 20 years at least.
Well, I can only hope. We'll see. Be interesting to see how that plays out there too. All right, guys, there you have it. Tulsa King, season 1, episode 4. Our weekly review on it. Next week on Tuesday will be episode 5, and we have a special announcement to make on our movie that we're going to be doing Sunday with some schedules juggling around doing the Christmas holidays here in 2022. We've decided to go back to another Western, a classic by many. Artie, why don't you let everybody know what the movie is we're going to watch? Something that's going to be a first watch for you.
I believe it's called The Sting. I don't remember it can't be on a Western though.
I'm sorry, is there any familiar names in that?
Just Robert Redford from
And
the.
who's that other guy? The Sinatra-looking guy.
I believe it's. I'm trying to remember now because I don't have the case in front of me. But I want to say it. I want to say it's a Dean Martin guy. I'm not sure.
It's not Dean Martin,
I'm just
bro.
kidding.
Come on. So you have heard of Robert Redford, right?
Yes, it's Robert Redford and Paul Newman, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Because old Blue Eyes is Sinatra, Paul Newman just is Blue Eyes. So, and you know what? You'll recognize some other people in here too, which I can't wait to talk about this Sunday night here on the Xtreme Movie Show, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be going over The Sting, so check that out ahead of time. It'd be fun to talk about that. We're going to get that up here, create it shortly, and get it out. That is a nice movie. That is I'm predicting already you're going to love it. I'm sure Ed's seen it and everybody else here in chat too. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we take it. And our young something here, Professor Pixel, will not be involved. He's out of town because of the holidays, and then he'll be back. So he's missing out on an old classic. But hey, that's more for you and me, right? All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, have a good night. Remember, stay extreme.
Later, guys.